welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And we are here to discuss the Carolina Panthers hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Week 15, 16? Week 16.
Week 16, yeah.
Week
it's been
16.
It's been a long road to this.
It has. It has. And the season still has 3 more games left. I mean, this game and then 2 others. So it's a long season. But Jerry, I'd like to wish you a early Merry Christmas. Both of us celebrate Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays to all the listeners and watchers on YouTube. Like and subscribe, please.
Yes, please like and subscribe. That would be a nice Christmas present to us. But yeah, I mean, it's that time of year. It's the holidays. So if you are listening to this right now, then you are a true Panthers fan, and we appreciate it. Panthers appreciate it. We wish that they put together a better season for all of us, but it is what it is. As
Dear
John Fox used to
say. Dear Santa, bring this organization some, a pathway to winning, because right now it doesn't look like they have it.
No, it doesn't seem like the future is not very bright right now. Jerry and I did a podcast yesterday on Matt Rule and whether or not he should be fired or not. So that one's up on YouTube, out on the podcast feed. Check that out whenever you get a chance. It's, you don't have to listen to it today. You can listen to it kind of anytime. It's sort of one of those evergreen podcasts until he is fired, in which case, probably wouldn't want to listen to it at that point. But maybe you would want to listen to it to see the reasons why he was fired, perhaps. Yeah. But either way, got a little bit of news here to take care of before we go into the preview. So, Jerry, take it away.
Yeah. Defensive end Brian Burns was named the only Panthers going to the Pro Bowl. Congratulations, Brian Burns.
Yeah, a little surprising that he was the pick. Certainly deserving. I think he's had a really good season. And but Hassan Reddick, I think, has had a better season. And this is the outside linebacker position that Brian Burns got the nod for. So I'm pretty surprised.
Brian Burns got defensive end.
Outside line. Yes. I saw it was OLB.
No, I saw defensive end. Now you're going to make me do... I literally just had this up. And now NFL Network will force their video on me. So, listeners, I apologize if you hear all of a sudden a video playing in the background.
Yeah, I thought it was for OLB.
Nope. Nick Bosa, Brian Burns, Cam Jordan, defensive end, outside linebacker, Chandler Jones, Robert Quinn, and Shaquille Barrett.
Okay. Well, Hassan Reddick should have made the Pro Bowl, in my opinion. He's got 11 sacks. Yeah.
I agree, and I think Chandler Jones, I would have put him over his old running mate.
Yeah, I think Chandler Jones, he's just a name. He's a guy, and he's probably having a good season. But he's just one of those guys that if he's having as good a season as normal, he's automatically going to get in.
Yeah. So. If you ever watch the Hard Knocks, the one in Indianapolis that's currently going on, that's kind of how they were voting. They did like a little piece. They're like, oh, we got to do our Pro Bowl voting. And they're like, what about that kid,
Yeah.
It's definitely kind of a popularity contest in their eyes, too, because not everyone's are watching the Panthers games.
Well, Hassan Reddick led the fan voting.
Yeah.
At that position and didn't even make it as a starter. So he must have been pretty low on the list of the other, voters. I know the fan vote is not a huge percentage, but it certainly is taken into account. So that's interesting. Another former Panther, actually a Panther this season, made the Pro Bowl, in Denzel Perryman, who we have lamented several times that the Panthers got rid of him. Wish that they would have kept him around because, as you and I were saying before we started this podcast, adding him, basically taking that Jermaine Carter role is a pretty big upgrade.
Yeah.
And we got rid of him for nothing. I mean, it was a 6th-round pick, and he's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, on a cheap deal, a cheap 2-year deal.
Cheap 2-year deal. 2 years, by the way. We could have had him next year, too.
And it could have really shored up that run defense that is the only real issue that this defense, in my opinion, has at this moment.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was a bad move. And a lot of bad moves that have happened this season. Giving away a Pro Bowl middle linebacker for nothing that's a tough one.
yeah.
That's a
And
tough one.
with the Pro Bowl, Hassan Reddick and cornerback Stephon Gilmore are first alternates, so they'll more than likely end up going. Usually someone tweaks a hammy or something, and they
So
just...
that's my question is last year they didn't actually play the game. Are they going to play the game this year? Because if they don't play the game, then first alternates doesn't matter. It's just...
honestly, I don't know. It'll be interesting. They'll probably plan to play it, but the way the cases are rising again, they'll probably boot it out, do something else. Now
it says it is back this year. So unless they cancel it for the pandemic, like you said, then yeah, it's quite possible that Gilmore and Reddick will both be in.
Yep. And yesterday we talked about we hadn't heard anything about Zane Gonzalez being placed on IR. After the podcast was recorded, he was placed on IR. So
of course he was. Yes.
Not shocking.
And AJ Bouye as well on IR. We talked about that yesterday. But if you haven't listened to that podcast and you didn't hear about that, AJ Bouye also on IR.
All right. Now let's get into it. The great game.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming to Carolina.
As always, we'll kick it off here with the injury reports. Pap Elflein, Dennis Daly today were placed on the COVID reserve list. So they, I don't know. I know there's some sort of new way that they're doing these COVID lists where if the players are vaccinated and they're asymptomatic, that they can return, even if they're still testing positive. So not sure what Pat Elflein and Dennis Daly's vaccination status is, but just because they're on the list today doesn't necessarily mean they won't play. But looking at the actual list, DJ Moore is on the injury report, did not practice with a hamstring. Gilmore and Cam Irving also on the list, listed as limited participants, but Stephon Gilmore yesterday said that he wasn't aware he was on the list because he felt fine and he thought he practiced fully. So interesting there. But Cam Irving coming off an injury a couple weeks ago, so not surprised to see him on the list. I was surprised to see that Cam Irving played 100% of the snaps on last week. So congratulations to him there.
Yeah.
For the Tampa Bay. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And Brady Christensen was getting left tackle starting reps with Cam Irving being limited. Fun little news. Sorry.
Whatever that means, Yeah. Not that I wouldn't like seeing Brady Christensen starting at left tackle over Cam Irving. I certainly would, but I don't expect it because we know who Matt Rule is.
He's got short arms. He can't play left tackle.
Oh, by the way, guess who else made the Pro Bowl?
Rashawn
Slater. Short arm T-Rex Rashawn Slater himself with the Pro Bowl nod. Also, Micah Parsons, two guys that we wanted. Just saying. All right, looking at Tampa Bay. Chris Godwin was placed on IR, wide receiver. Leonard Fournette is expected to miss the rest of the season. I don't think he's officially been placed on IR, but he is expected to miss the rest of the season. So two big injuries there. Mike Evans also listed as a non-participant in practice Wednesday, and it seems like he's trending towards not playing. Other DNPs for the Bucs, Levante David, linebacker.
Big name.
Antoine Winfield Jr.
Another big name. They have a lot of big name players really injured right now, and it's good for the Panthers. I mean, game is...
It's good if you want to win.
The game is striking up very nicely for a Panthers shocking win, if that's what you're cheering for.
If that's what you're cheering for. Antonio Brown listed as a limited participant in practice. I would expect him to play. Other limited participant is Richard Sherman with an Achilles injury. And then you've got Jamel Dean, full participant in practice with an illness. Mike Edwards, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Bradley Pinion, also all full participants in practice. So yeah, some big names on the Bucs list. Some big names will miss this game for the Bucs. Um, I did want to mention before we, well, no, I won't mention it before. I'll mention it when we're in there. But um, yeah, I mean, like you said, this game is sort of,
Yeah.
You could squint your eyes hard enough, you could see a Panthers win here.
You could see a path to victory. If this
Yeah.
team was playing better, you'd be like, oh my God, all these injuries coming in. You know, defense, offense,
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady's still back there, but I mean, Chris Godwin's out. Mike Evans probably out. Antonio Brown's coming off a couple weeks of, being suspended
Mm-hmm.
and on the injury report. It's marking up nicely.
Yeah.
But what does that mean, though? The offense, they've struggled against bad defenses. I mean, this is a good defense, and it's missing a couple key players, but do we expect them to put up 20, 30 points? Because Brady's going to score. Even on
Yeah, I
our
mean,
defense.
they still have good players.
Yeah.
They still have Ronald Jones at running back, who last year was really good, or year before was really good. And they just signed Le'Veon Bell, who I don't expect much from him. But, Ronald Jones is a good receiving back and a good running back. Then they've got some wide receivers. They always seem to have another wide receiver that's ready to step up.
Mm-hmm.
They always seem to. So, and like you said, they've got Tom Brady at the helm. They've got 3 Pro Bowl linemen on the offensive line. They're going to be fine, I think.
I do too. I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Again, though, for Panthers, I mean, it's shaping up that they have a chance. Make a couple key plays. Look at New Orleans last week, 9-0.
Yep. Who saw that coming? Nobody saw that coming. But Vegas, I think, agrees with you, Jerry, because the Panthers opened as 13.5-point underdogs, and now they are only 10-point underdogs at home.
I mean, still a double digit.
Still a double-digit dog.
I mean,
but it has come down. That's a significant swing, honestly. 3.5 points. That's a big swing. Over-under set at 44.5, which that's one of the higher over-unders for the Panthers in a few weeks. But certainly not because of the Panthers.
Well, that's because the Bucs average almost 30 points a game.
Yeah, they do, Jerry. Tell us more.
It's 29.3 points per game, and they give up 21.9 points per game. I'm a little surprised that they give up so much, but I guess when that offense is just clicking, other teams are just trying to score at the end, hoping.
Exactly. I'd be interested to see how much of that is like, the
Garbage.
last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter points. But yeah, I mean, conversely, Carolina's averaging 19.4 points per game, giving up 22.4 points a game. So those numbers keep going the wrong directions.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago that we were averaging more points per game than we were giving up. Even being under 500, but now that number's completely flipped, and that's more indicative of the team that we've seen the last 2 months, essentially.
The players are playing hard, but I don't feel like they're really rallying behind Rule in the scheme. I think they're out there to put on good tape for themselves and, not quit, but ready for the off season.
Who isn't, right? All right, well, let's talk about some matchups here.
Yeah, the key matchup is Carolina's run game. They average 112 yards per game against the Bucs run defense, which is pretty stout. They give up 109 yards per game. But if this team has any chance to win, I think they have to be able to run the ball well. We can't trust Cam Newton or Sam Darnold, whoever they're throwing out there at the time, this 2-quarterback system that Matt Rule wants to throw out there. We can't trust it. We haven't been able to trust the pass game all year. We can't trust the offensive line. You're going to have to run the ball. You're going to have to slow down Tom Brady, get him off his rhythm, and keep him on the bench. Keep him on the bench. And that's why I think that's the key matchup for the Panthers to win this game, is to really dominate in the run game.
Yeah, I agree. And Cam has shown that he's still very capable of running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think he ran for 50, 60 yards last week. Chuba, when given the opportunity, has big play ability.
Mm-hmm.
Can break one at any time, it seems like, and he's just not getting a lot of run, unfortunately. I think he had 10 carries last week. So I'd like to see him get 15 carries
I want to see him
at a
up in
minimum.
20 touches. Give the guy
Yeah.
20 touches. At this point, what do you got to lose? Let's see what the rookie has.
Yeah. And you mentioned Sam Darnold. We didn't really, I mean, I guess maybe we'll talk about that here at some point, but Sam Darnold, Matt Rule says Sam Darnold is going to play
Yeah, that's
this week.
so odd.
He says he's going to play. Um, Now, he also said that PJ Walker was going to play last week, and PJ Walker did not play last week. I think he said PJ Walker is going to play pretty much every week since Cam got here, and I think 2 games Cam played every offensive snap, and PJ didn't play. So now the question is, Jerry, if you had to choose a starter for the next 3 games of the 3 quarterbacks that are currently on this roster, who would you choose and why?
Well, I was going to ask, why am I choosing this? Like, do I want
You
us to
choose it,
lose?
and you're the GM or you're the coach.
If I'm the GM or the coach, I am probably going to choose PJ Walker or Cam Newton. That
Okay.
being said, if the coach, I could also see them going with Sam Darnold, saying, "This is my guy. I won 4 games with him, and since then." As a fan, I want Cam Newton just because I would like to say goodbye to him
Mm-hmm.
because I think this is his last year in the league. That's just me being sentimental. So,
Yeah, and I guess I agree with you. I don't think I would put PJ Walker on the list of potentials. I think it's either Cam or Sam. If it was me, I think I'd play Sam just to give him that last shot, essentially, because he is the only one under contract next year.
yeah.
And yes, I think we did see enough from Sam earlier in this season. Um, but I think he's on the books for $20 million almost next year. I'd put him out there, make him earn that money. Honestly, that's what I would do because we're not going to win these next 3 games. And honestly, it benefits us not to win these next 3 games.
Yeah. But
So if you do win with Sam, then that is something. If you
and
lose with Sam, that's something else.
and that's a good point too, because Matt Rule could throw out Sam and if they do win, be like, "Hey, I was able to win with Sam against these good
Mm-hmm.
teams." Like he missed half the season with the injury. I couldn't help that. We still need to improve the offensive line. Let's run it back with Sam, improve the offensive line, and we could have something. I mean, that's what Matt
I mean,
Rule's preaching to
no,
Tepper, not necessarily what I
sure.
believe.
And I don't think he's got to preach to Tepper. I think it's his choice. But if Sam starts, and he's not starting this week, but let's say Sam starts next week and the week
Mm-hmm.
after those last 2 games, and the Panthers win those last 2 games, then guess what? Sam Darnold has a winning record
Yeah.
as the starter. If that scenario worked out, and then that becomes an interesting conversation. Now, we as fans, again, we've seen enough from Sam Darnold. I
Oh
do not
man.
want Sam Darnold back next year.
Oh man. Just some of his
But I think if he
interceptions.
goes 6-5 as a starter
You
and the
have to.
Panthers win 7 games, then yeah, I mean he's already signed. He's coming back, you know. But worst case scenario is, or maybe best case scenario is if they do win and the Panthers drop to 15th or 16th in the draft order, maybe they can trade Sam. Maybe if they show, hey, Sam went 6-5 for us as a starter behind a terrible offensive line and our star player out 75% of the season. How about you give us a 4th-round pick for Sam Darnold and take his salary? Maybe that happens.
I think that's
I'm,
a Santa wish.
I'm just saying,
Mm-hmm.
it's not impossible. Maybe it is impossible. What's our next matchup?
I honestly forget which matchup we are on. The Bucs
We're on
run
the
game.
Bucs run game. Yeah.
The Bucs run game averages 97 yards per game, while the Carolina's run defense is struggling, 115 yards per game. And Leonard Fournette not probably going to play. They signed Le'Veon Bell yesterday to shore up that. Honestly, this is a good stepping stone for this Carolina defense. They're not having to face a great rushing team. But you never know.
Yeah, again, I mean, Carolina's run defense is not good.
Yeah,
they've been getting beat badly pretty much all season long. So, if you stop the Bucs run game, then they're just going to pass. They've got Tom Brady, who is a great quarterback, the greatest quarterback. And they're missing a couple of wide receivers, but they still have Gronk. They still have Antonio Brown.
They still have your love of life, O.J. Howard.
O.J. Howard's out there, yeah. I mean, the man himself. I think it's that Tyler Johnson or whoever that always seems to step up
Cameron
for them.
Brate.
So they've got plenty of weapons. But yeah, I mean, making them one-dimensional would benefit the Panthers, obviously.
And this, even though we're missing A.J. Bouye, we still have a somewhat decent secondary. I mean, C.J. Henderson will probably get burned, but Keith Taylor has done decent. We'll see.
Well, speaking of, I mean, we've got the Bucs pass offense versus the Carolina pass defense is our next matchup here. Mm-hmm. Bucs pass offense, 304 yards per game. Carolina only giving up 178. And even last week, I think they gave up 210 to Josh Allen. So it'll be interesting to see if the Panthers can put a lid on Tom Brady. Now, of course, we saw 0 points from Tom Brady last week. I am curious to see how the Bucs come back from that. Are they going to take it out on the Panthers, or are we going to be the whipping boy
again?
We're going to be the. I don't want to use that terminology, but you're going to be the hate F, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Are we going to be their get right game again? Just like
we seem to be for everyone else. Yeah.
I'm curious on this aspect of the pass offense. Who is Stephon Gilmore going to follow? Is it going to be Antonio Brown?
Depends who plays. He may
or Gronk.
He may follow Gronk. I mean, I think if I'm the coaching staff, then I'm adjusting in game to who he's playing. Like, I know. I said if I'm the coaching staff, not if the coach.
If the coaching staff actually adjusts in game.
If they knew how to adjust in the game, that's what I would do. Yeah, nice reaction there, Jerry. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe Antonio Brown. If Antonio Brown's the only, if Godwin, we know Godwin's not playing. If Evans is not playing, then I think Antonio Brown could get a lot of. Yeah. I mean, he could put up 200 yards in this game. So I think the Panthers would have to key on him.
I do too. And I think we could cover the tight end decently without putting Stephon Gilmore on there. And Gronk is not Gronk prime anymore.
He's not, but he's still
no, he's still good.
Good.
That was not a knock on him. He's just not what he was at one time, the most dangerous tight end of all time.
Yeah, true. He is, let's see, I'm just looking at PFF. He is ranked 10th of all tight ends this season, which, I mean, honestly, at his age and all the injuries that he's had, that's impressive.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's just not what he was. He still has 500 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns.
6 touchdowns, yep.
I mean,
he hasn't played every game. I think he's missed a few games too. So
I think maybe Shaq Thompson could cover him to a certain extent. Jeremy Chin.
He had a few weeks ago. He had 7 receptions for 123 yards. So he still has that ability to break open games.
Now, let's look at our last matchup here. The
Ugh.
horrendous Carolina offensive line against the Bucs pass rush. The pass rush only averages 2.6 sacks per game. Our offensive line just is horrendous. They have to give whomever is quarterback some time back there. I mean, they can't be under pressure 70% of the time like they typically are. I
Yeah.
mean, Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul are right there. Vita Vea and Sue are up the middle. That is a very, very ferocious front four there. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know how they're going to have to do it, if they're going to have to use multiple tight end sets to help block, but they need to do something to on passing downs to give the quarterback some time and hope they don't make
Well,
mistakes.
and yeah, and if we're also down our starting center
Mm-hmm.
and potentially Dennis Daly, who is a good sub or starter depending on the week, um, that further, even missing Pat Elfline, is he's not the best player in the world, obviously, but he's probably better than who was Sam Tecklenburg. I mean, I don't know who would even fill in at center at this point.
It would.
Um,
I would almost assume it would be Tecklenburg.
yeah, I would have to assume, but he hasn't looked great either. So it's gonna be rough, man. I mean, that's another reason maybe to put Cam back there, just because he's can absorb those hits more. He's got the better escapability, or at least he used to. Um, he does seem to sense pressure better than Sam
Mm-hmm.
Darnold. I mean, that was one of the things that we noticed about Sam was he sort of it seemed like the defenders would sneak up on him from time to
Mm-hmm.
time. Cam certainly seems to sense that better. So I don't know, man. I mean, obviously this is not a matchup that the Panthers are going to win. It's going to be all on the quarterback to
Yeah.
get the ball out quick and make guys miss when they eventually get back there.
And it's on here just because you need the offensive line at maybe not win this matchup, but at least do a push. Push is what you're asking them to
Yeah.
do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If we can hold them to 2 sacks, that's probably pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%
honestly,
agree.
yeah. But you know what I don't want to see from this offense, and maybe it goes against what I just said, is these flipping third down plays where they're passing the ball 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage,
Mm-hmm.
which has happened, I think, every game this year. It's these weird third down, fourth down calls where they're not even
RPO
throwing it. Yeah,
screens.
they're not even passing it past the line of scrimmage. This is what we were so upset with Teddy Bridgewater last year. It was the same thing. Well, turns out it's probably the scheme. It's probably the coaching staff. That's these are the plays they're calling. Now, Matt Rule said immediately after his press conference last week, or during his press conference last week, immediately after the game, that Cam basically did the wrong thing with that one fourth down where he threw the bubble screen, got Robbie Anderson knocked down, and a terrible incomplete. Later in the week, it seems like he's walked that back a little bit and said he can understand why Cam, audibled out of whatever the play call was and did what he did, but
It,
still
it,
didn't really
it,
like it.
it was an RPO, and if a certain player blitzed, he was supposed to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Matt Rule said that when he looked at it at first, he didn't see the player blitz. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why he blamed Cam. But after he saw it again, he did see the player blitz and Cam threw the right play. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that the play was right though, because it still
It was
obviously
still a
was
bad
a
play call. Yeah.
exactly a bad play call, and he said he apologized in house.
Yeah.
It's again, why are you throwing him under the bus until you've seen the play?
Exactly.
And if you throw him under the bus, why not go publicly and come out the next day or whenever you see it and be like, "Hey Cam, I want to apologize publicly because
Mm-hmm.
I missaw something, and after I looked at the tape, it was not your fault. You did the correct thing." That's
Yeah.
all you got to do, because right now I don't think he's getting any friends in that locker room. Matt Rule.
No, and like you and I talked yesterday when we talked about should the Panthers fire Matt Rule? This was one of our reasons, is that we don't like the way that he calls out the players publicly, especially before he's even seen the tape,
Yeah, just
before he even knows for sure. He completely threw Cam under the bus, and that's not the first time he's done it this season with
I
Cam
think
specifically.
I think he's prepped to use Cam as the scapegoat of the lost season.
I think he's a little
in over
what's
his
the
head.
word I'm looking for? No, well, that's not what I was thinking specifically for this, but yes, he is. But I think he's not. God, I don't know what word I'm thinking of, but he's not happy that he had to bring Cam back.
No, he's not.
Right. I think he feels like that he's sort of getting it shoved in his face a little bit, having to bring Cam back. And I think now he's basically saying, all right, you want Cam back? This is what you get, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about it. And that's not, like you said, that's not going to make him any friends.
No. Again, the players love Cam.
Yeah.
He's a leader. I mean, we've said this before. I know people outside of Carolina don't see him as a leader because, yes, he does showboat and stuff like that. But you don't see the things on the sideline that he's doing. The
practice.
The practice. Look at the, I hate saying this, but the Bank of America Stadium before the season, they always do the kickoff, the Fan Fest. He gets the whole team involved. It's not just him doing it. He'll get all the players dancing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Players love that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And maybe Matt Rule's a little embarrassed, maybe, that he had to come crawling back to Cam, after saying how excited he was last year to play with them, and then just unceremoniously cutting him, trying to trade him, then trying to blame it on him, saying he wanted to be traded. It's the whole thing was just handled so poorly. But
that's Matt Rule's whole time here is been handled poorly.
Yeah,
everything he's done. This Denzel
Agreed.
Perryman.
Yeah,
I mean,
prime example. They cut bait on him for what reason? Yeah, and some of you are going to say, well, he didn't have a vaccination. He was anti-vax. Guess what? He's not the only guy on the team that doesn't have a vaccination.
Yeah.
He's certainly not the only guy in the league that doesn't have a vaccination.
He was injured during preseason. Okay, that's fine. He's still going to be a better backup than what we have to Jermaine.
It was such a low contract.
Mm-hmm.
It was like $2-3 million a year or something for a guy that you could see when he was with the Chargers how good he was when he was on the field. Even a half season of that kind of production is worth it. Is worth that money, in my opinion. So, all right. Do we have a beer bet of the week?
I don't feel like losing any beers this week. And plus, we just had our Christmas party last night that,
We did. We had our company Christmas party. Do you have any predictions or thoughts about Sam Darnold, like how much he actually plays?
I say 10 plays.
10 plays?
10 plays.
Okay, 10 snaps.
10 snaps. I think that we fall behind and they throw him out there to the Wolves. But he'll probably...
I think he may play more than that.
Oh. We'll do 10.5 over under.
Okay, I'll take the over.
Yeah. I'll give you another beer.
Bold predictions. All right. I will start. Bold prediction. Okay. So I think, as you mentioned earlier, the Panthers are going to need to establish the run game in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're going to try to do that. I'm predicting that the Panthers will rush for less than 30 yards in this game.
Wow.
I don't think they're going to be able to establish any sort of run game.
That kind of goes into my bold prediction of Robbie Anderson having over 120 yards receiving this game.
Oh, okay. There you go. So you're taking it positive.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. obviously no running game means that the passing game should be wide open. So hopefully.
I
All
was
right,
also
game
thinking
prediction.
it may be some garbage time.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, hey, Robbie Anderson could use it. Let's be honest. He needs some confidence. All right, game predictions. You go first.
I had the Bucs winning 29-13.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the Bucs winning as well. 35-21. I think uh, teams just score 30 points on us these days. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen. Good teams, especially. So, all right. Other NFC South games this week. We got the Lions at the Falcons, the Dolphins at the Saints. Um, that on that's those are actually probably going to be pretty competitive games. I mean, Detroit just won.
Yeah,
Um,
Detroit's off the mat. We've discussed this yesterday that I think
yeah,
Detroit is fighting hard for Dave Campbell, and I think they
yeah,
could win against Atlanta.
they're scrappy for sure. And then the Dolphins have been playing very well the last few
Mm-hmm.
months. So that's a very
Both teams
important
need
game
that.
for both games. Yeah.
Yeah, both teams need that win for the playoff hopes. So
Yep.
it might be a fun game to watch just because of the competitiveness of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Tua could be the Panthers quarterback next year. You never know. Stranger things could happen.
Mitch Trubisky, Tua, those are the names I'm hearing.
Trevor Simeon, it's you never know.
Uh,
All right.
we want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. And if you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on the show. Also, please like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll be back on Sunday afternoon to recap this game. Until then, everybody have a great Christmas. Be safe out there and keep pounding.